Welcome to Early Indicators. Today we continue our February domain on environmental tipping points with a theme that reveals one of the most consequential dynamics unfolding across the planet: ecological cascades, the chain reactions that occur when one ecosystem crosses a threshold and triggers failures in others. These are not isolated environmental events. They are signals in the truest sense. Signals are structural, not events; early, not reactive; underreported, not mainstream; and directional, not episodic. They show us where the natural systems that support food webs, climate stability, and regional economies are beginning to unravel in ways that will shape the coming decades. To understand how we reached this moment, we need to trace the long arc of ecological stress. In the 1970s and 1980s, scientists began documenting early declines in coral reefs, insect populations, and forest health. These warnings were often dismissed as localized or temporary. By the 1990s, evidence mounted that ecosystems were responding to warming, pollution, and land use change in ways that were nonlinear, meaning small pressures could trigger large consequences. The early 2000s brought clearer signs. Coral bleaching events became more frequent, insect declines accelerated, and forest die-off began appearing in regions once considered stable. Over the past 15 years, these patterns have intensified. What once appeared as isolated ecological problems now form a global pattern of cascading failures. Several forces converged to create this inflection. Climate change increased heat stress, drought, and extreme weather. Land use change fragmented habitats and reduced biodiversity. Pollution and chemical exposure weakened species resilience. Global trade accelerated the spread of invasive species and pathogens. Governance gaps left ecosystems underprotected and undermonitored. These forces reshaped macro-scale systems such as global food webs, carbon cycles, and climate regulation, while also influencing micro-scale systems including local fisheries, pollinator networks, soil health, and community livelihoods. Current signals show the shift with growing clarity. First, coral bleaching events are occurring at shorter intervals, giving reefs less time to recover. Second, insect populations, especially pollinators, are declining across multiple continents, threatening food production. Third, forest die-off is accelerating in regions facing heat stress, drought, and pest outbreaks. Fourth, fisheries are collapsing as ocean temperatures rise and food chains destabilize. Fifth, new research shows that once a key species declines, dependent species often follow, creating cascading failures that ripple across ecosystems. These developments rarely dominate mainstream coverage, yet they reveal a system under mounting stress. Signal confidence, accelerating and destabilizing. Here is where the shift is most visible. In the Great Barrier Reef, repeated bleaching events have weakened coral structures, reducing fish populations and threatening tourism and local economies. In the American West, forest die-off driven by drought and bark beetle infestations is altering fire behavior, water cycles, and carbon storage. In parts of Europe, insect declines are reducing pollination services, affecting crop yields and local food systems. In West Africa, fisheries stressed by warming waters are triggering food insecurity and economic strain in coastal communities. These examples illustrate how ecological cascades reshape systems at every layer. Nations must reconsider conservation strategies, agricultural planning, and climate commitments. Cities face rising costs as water supplies, air quality, and local ecosystems become less stable. Firms encounter operational risks tied to supply chain exposure, resource scarcity, and regulatory shifts. Communities experience changes in food availability, cultural practices, and local economies. Individuals face rising food prices, health risks, and reduced access to natural resources. At the macro layer, ecological cascades alter global food webs, carbon cycles, and climate systems. They influence trade flows, geopolitical stability, and long-term economic resilience. At the micro layer, they affect farms, fisheries, forests, and local ecosystems. The fragility revealed is profound. Systems built on assumptions of ecological stability are colliding with a rapidly changing reality. Future expectations point toward several trajectories. In the short term, over the next 1 to 3 years, more ecosystems will cross thresholds as heat stress, drought, and pollution intensify. Coral reefs may face additional bleaching events. Forest die-off may expand into new regions. In the medium term, over 3 to 10 years, food systems may experience disruptions as pollinator declines and fisheries collapse. Water cycles may shift as forests lose their ability to regulate moisture. In the long term, beyond 10 years, ecological cascades may reshape regional economies, migration patterns, and global climate stability. Entire ecosystems may reorganize as species adapt, relocate, or disappear. Early indicators to watch include coral bleaching alerts, insect population surveys, forest health assessments, fishery stock reports, and invasive species spread. Potential tipping points include the collapse of major pollinator networks, widespread forest mortality, and the loss of key marine species that anchor food webs. What to watch next? Pay close attention to regions where multiple ecological stressors overlap, such as heat, drought, pollution, and invasive species. These clusters often signal where cascading failures will accelerate first. Watch for early policy responses, conservation investments, and shifts in agricultural or fisheries management. These developments can reveal where governments and industries anticipate future ecological instability. In summary, ecological cascades are among the most consequential environmental signals of our time. They reshape food systems, water cycles, climate regulation, and regional economies. They reveal fragilities in natural systems that support billions of people. And they offer early insight into where environmental pressures will intensify in the coming decades. These signals are quiet, but they are deeply consequential. Thank you for listening to Early Indicators. If you found this episode valuable, please like, subscribe, follow, and share. Your support helps bring attention to the signals shaping our future. This episode draws on publicly available information, including international think tank reports, academic research, public climate and policy data, open-source intelligence, and non-copyrighted summaries of global developments. No proprietary or confidential sources were used. This episode is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute political advice, financial guidance, or predictive certainty. All interpretations are based on publicly available information and are intended to support general understanding of global trends.